Hey, where are we? There we are.
Oh, hello.
It's the Line Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show, live from State College's Quaker Steak Lube. If you're wondering where the Ironhead is, he will be here momentarily. He's back from Detroit, and we'll be able to give you all the total rundown from an absolute top-to-bottom dominant performance by Penn State's wrestling team. Once again, Goon, you were out there. Mike the Mailman and I held it down last week for you. Got to talk about the news of Sandy Barber's impending retirement, which I know is heartbreaking to you.
Everybody.
But I'm covering here for the first few minutes for the Ironhead, so let's just talk about it a little bit. Let's get right in. Michigan got their participation trophy, and Penn State got the big trophy.
Yep. I mean, it was, I will start with, I got to say this, that arena, by far the best I've ever been in my life. Amazing.
So
top to bottom, everything about it was.
Did they do it where, like, the Pistons?
Yep.
Right? Okay.
And the Red Wings.
Yeah. So
my first impression was this. We were in a suite, so we go up these steps and they go up to the suite level. Everybody there is very nice. Oh, welcome. And we would just sit there like laughing at these people like, you have no idea what's coming your way, do you? You have no idea. And like this goes on 6 straight sessions. Like it's Groundhog Day. You wake up, you go downstairs, you have breakfast, you have a couple cocktails, you go to the first session, you get done, you go back to the hotel, you have lunch and a bunch of other cocktails, and then you go to another session.
Yeah.
Then you come home and you have some more cocktails, and then you go to bed and you repeat, rinse, repeat 3 times.
I was going to ask what you did in the break between the first and second day.
We had some older folk with us, so it wasn't like they were too mobile out down Hasselhoff to get around bar. So we would leave and go back to the hotel, and we took care of the hotel lobby, waitresses the first night. So, and then we would say, hey, have a spot here, and there'd be 100 people at this bar, and there'd be a middle table for 12 people just be sitting there empty. And somebody would try and take it, and they would be jumping all over their crap and beating them up and say, no, this is for them. So. Did it right, fantastic time, but I got to give, so my first impression of the Little Caesars Arena, which is a combination of Auburn Hills and the Joe Louis Arena, so they combined the 2 teams.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they used to be 2 different places.
Right.
Pistons and Red Wings. So a lot of Red Wings decor, a lot of Pistons decor, but they had some, I guess you would probably say, some paintings of some different players and stuff like that. So they had Bill Lambier, Joe Dumars, Isaiah Thomas, all these guys, whatever. It is what it is. I mean, I had a great picture of Rick Mahorn's ass. It was perfect, but a lot of Red Wings stuff. You got to respect the Red Wings as a hockey fan. But what I loved was one of the 5 pictures they had up there. Not pictures. This is actually an artist rendition. Okay. And it was the night that Claude Lemieux got jumped by Darren McCarty. And I'm like, that is hockey right there. You have Gordie Howe, you have terrible Ted Lindsay, you have Dominic Hasek, Iserman, the Russian 5, all these guys. Yeah. And one of the 5 pictures you have is Darren McCarty kneeing Claude Lemieux in the head as he's turtling because of a cheap shot he gave 3 games before. That
was when Lemieux was on Colorado.
Yes.
And there was a huge rivalry between them.
He had hit somebody, and I think it was Chris Draper, and hit somebody in the board, and he rearranged the guy's face. I mean, the guy had multiple surgeries on his face. That. So the way it was set up, and actually the guys I was with, they weren't too hockey friendly. So I said, just watch this video. And they're like, okay. They're like, oh my God. So it was a fight on the corner. They started a fight with Forsberg, and it was all a complete setup, which is the best part about it. Yeah. So they had all these referees running over to try and save Peter Forsberg get beat up by somebody, and then all of a sudden Darren McCarty pretty much swims up like a shark, but skates up behind Lemieux and just beat the living dog poop out of him. And to the point where he was laying on the ice just turtling, covering up, and McCarty was kneeing him. You never see that in hockey. He was kneeing him in the head, and then pounding him against the boards.
It was a different sport back then.
Right on the Red Wings bench, and the Red Wings guys are cheering and this and that. So they drug Lemieux off by his legs, I think, and he was busted up pretty good. But it was just called the revenge game and stuff like that. But you had 5 pictures to show, and everybody else was showing Chuck Daly and this and that, and they got a picture of Darren McCarty with just beating the tar out of him. I said, you know what, right there, there.
I cringed when you said you've got to respect the Red Wings. I hate the Red Wings, but
because of '97.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. But they deserved it because they had been the Flyers there for a long time, and then they finally won it.
Yeah, and I mean
they won like 19 more.
Yeah, they've been bad for a long time
They
now, but people forget for a while they were like the New York Yankees of the NHL. That it's not just that they were winning, but they went out and just bought up the free agent market so they could continue to win for a long time.
They had 2 or 3 different runs at the Cup, so it was pretty good. So I'm looking in the stand at the and we'll get into the wrestling when Jeff gets here.
Absolutely.
So I'm just giving you the ambiance of outside. So 70 degrees on the first day there. Everybody's walking around. I mean, you blew your mind when I told you how long it took me to get to Ann Arbor.
Yeah,
Detroit,
like the
Penn State College,
Happy Valley
to Detroit, Michigan, right in the hotel. I mean, I'm literally at the hotel, and I could, well, maybe Tiger Woods could probably hit about 3 drivers into Windsor, Ontario from there. That's how. And that's we were in that part of Detroit, right at the tunnel that was underneath. So that's where we were. 5 hours and 31 minutes from my house to there.
It's wild.
And I was like, I'd sit there and I'm like, and I was like, well, Ann Arbor was like 6 or 7. I'm like, Ann Arbor's a little bit north of here, but was not that much farther. And then I started thinking, like, Jesus, like Detroit and Ann Arbor are closer than Columbus does. If you really think about that. Time-wise, in Columbus, it's 6 or 7 hours. Right?
Yeah, I think it's about 6. It's been a while since I've made the drive, but 6 sounds about right.
Not a good drive either.
No, no drive in Ohio.
No, but the Ohio going through up 80 and hit Toledo, making a right and hit Detroit, beautiful.
Well, I don't know about beautiful. Easy.
It was easy. Yeah, and it was 3 lanes the whole way going.
Because it's totally flat.
And then it was amazing to me is it was just like leaving Maryland and coming back into Pennsylvania or West Virginia and Pennsylvania. Or New Jersey, and that was, hey, welcome to Michigan. You have this beautiful, like, smooth drive across Ohio. Then welcome to Michigan.
Yeah.
And that felt like Pennsylvania, so it felt a little bit like home.
Well, I don't like to say anything complimentary about the state of Ohio, but the one thing I will give them credit for, their turnpike is so unbelievably cheap compared to Pennsylvania. Uh-huh. You covered the whole state. What you spent, like $275?
Had the easy pass, so we were good, but yeah. I thought about it. I mean, just the way it ran, but I don't know. I don't know if something was going on Interstate 80 in Pennsellement and Ohio, but I promise you, there was a cop every 15 miles the whole way.
Well, they knew all the wrestling fans.
I guess. I figured they'd like to get you on the way back here because we driving home faster.
Right.
I waited to see one cop on the way home. Okay. We don't know what the hell was going on.
All right. You had the appetizer. Main course is coming up. Ironhead's here. We're going to take a break. When he comes back, talk about, par for the course, another national title, but a really, really enjoyable.
Before he gets there, we'll talk about the ambiance of the place, and it was a very pro Michigan.
Yeah.
To the point where I was sort of respecting the Michigan guys because we just hate Iowa that much.
Cleveland and Ohio State.
But I wouldn't have root for Ohio State or I root for Michigan. So it was, those guys are wrestling for their home, and it was very, very nice what was going on. The whole wrestling was amazing. Everything about it, the whole thing was great. I'm telling you, when Jeff gets here, we're going to ask him about that. Was by far the best arena I've ever been in my life. Puts everybody else to shame. Okay. It was that nice.
Maybe they'll go back there sometime.
It was worth it. Detroit's not fun.
We're going to jump to a break.
It wasn't all that. It was pretty good.
It's the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. Stay with us.
Best 2 out of 3?
It's one fantastic ride. The turbocharged, tech-inspired new Kia Forte.
There's always something happening at Quaker Steak Lube. From live music to exciting new flavors, meet your friends and refuel at your local Quaker Steak Lube today. Can't slow down? Then order online. Pick up and get back on the road. Find us at thelube.com.
Still can't believe we designed and built a boat.
Well,
Actually, this kayak was designed centuries ago by people who knew a lot about water. Though, cedar was my idea. But I guess we did it together.
I hope the thing floats.
Those builders didn't talk about floating, Dad. They said the person is the boat, and the boat is the water.
Exactly.
Born of a reverence for nature. The first ever Mazda CX-50.
And we welcome you back into the Lion Country Kia Goon Ironhead show here at Quaker Steak and Lube in State College. My apologies for the tardiness, but it's been a busy couple of days trying to catch up on a lot of stuff from what was a very enjoyable week in the Motor City and Hockey Town, USA.
Awesome.
Yeah, it is. I am running out of words to properly describe how unbelievable what this program is doing is. And I was going back and forth with a buddy of mine. There are just so many eye-popping statistics and breathtaking numbers that this program has put up really since 2011. But when you go from 2016 on, again, 5 of the last 6 tournaments, and over the years, it is really rare that you get 5 wrestlers from one team in the NCAA finals. Yes. Penn State has done that now 5 times in the last 6 NCAA tournaments. The only time in the last 6 tournaments that Penn State didn't get 5 into the finals was last season when they went 4 for 4 in the NCAA finals. That is, even for the mathematically challenged like me, that is 29 finalists.
Yes, I have to
in
ask you
6 NCAA tournaments. That is basically, it is an insane number. I mean, it is truly, absolutely insane. And, you know, they've reeled off 11 straight victories in the finals. They're 45-5 in the semifinals.
That's what I want to know.
It is just ridiculous that they are putting up these statistics against the best of the best. And, again, there are so many things, and we can talk about the weekend in general, and I'm with you. I thought that arena was absolutely fantastic from a fan and media perspective. But one of the many unbelievable things that this program has been able to achieve during this dynasty is the number of repeat champions. And you know, it's one of the things I was talking about. It was actually on Steve Jones' show earlier today, but also at the social that they had in Detroit on Saturday night, is that, again, you almost take for granted that, okay, yeah, if a guy's a champion, he's going to come back and be a champion again. Do you understand? And it's, you know, people will tell you in any sport, right? Like, it is really, really hard to win a championship. But it is so much harder to repeat as a champion. And I'm telling you that in this sport in particular, with the amount of quality coaches that are out there and the number of great athletes, and especially this season where you had so many, 6th and 7th year guys, all of the guys that were, 5 years of eligibility and had, Olympic and redshirt years thrown in there, and all the Ivy League guys back. I mean, I do think top to bottom, the field this year was as strong as it's ever been. And to repeat, when, again, the number of coaches and guys that are gunning for you, studying you, figuring out ways to beat you, the fact that all 4 of those guys repeated, along with Max Dean, is, I don't know, I hope people, Penn State fans, are truly appreciating just how special this is. At some point, this is going to end. I don't, hopefully not for a while, but. And I was on with another friend. It's like, man, you figured that it's just going to catch up. Like the numbers game, just because of how many great individuals there are out there. It's like, yeah, getting 5 into the finals again is amazing, but getting 2 or 3 champions would be really commendable, given all of the circumstances and everything we just talked about. To come back and be 5 for 5 again, as Penn State was in 2017. Again, 5 champions has happened 5 times. 5 times in the history of NCAA wrestling. 5 champions, 1 team in 1 season. And Penn State has 2 of those in the last 5 NCAA tournaments.
They're the hunted. Like you just say, how hard it is. I mean, every team in the country, they were going in their offseason last year. We're going to catch Penn State. We're going to beat Penn State. And then the individual side, you're going to sit there and say, "Got to catch them. Got to catch them." Like I said, David Carr. I mean, David Carr's family is a friend of mine, so I bring his name up, and he loses in the third or third round.
Yeah.
And just like one of those matches he shouldn't have lost. But if you're not on your A game for all 5 of those matches, you're going to go down. And that's how hard it is. I mean, there's a kid who's amazing.
Here's the truth of the matter, and this is the thing. That's why, again, what they're doing to me is just absolutely unbelievable, is that you can be on your A game and still lose. True. I don't know that David Carr was all that far off. I mean, I'm not going to tell you that was his best match, obviously. But what I'm telling you is you can be on your A game. It can be that you're wrestling well, you're not doing anything wrong, and you lose because there's somebody else that's just wrestling a little better that day. And that is why it is just unbelievable. Again, it's not just that they peak every year; it's that they find ways to beat the best of the best in the toughest tournament at this level that there is. And I think it's the most, the Olympic trials and the Olympics obviously are bigger stages, but I think this tournament is the best tournament for fans, and I think it brings the most excitement and energy to it. Now, I've only been in person to 2 Olympic trials, and I've never been to an Olympic game, so take that, again, for what it's worth. But I cannot imagine that the Olympics provide any more energy in the arena than what you see for the NCAA wrestling.
Amazing. Everything about it. How they do it. And I had 2 newcomers into the suite this year, so it was fun, me being the idiot wrestling fan that I am, having just my little bit of knowledge and just telling them what to look for, rather than a really, really experienced guy telling them what to look for, because they would have no idea. So it was really good watching these guys really get into it and understand it. And like, holy crap. But again, as football players, we all laugh. Ironhead. As they all 32 guys come running out of or 16 guys at a time come running out of the tunnel, and I can't imagine there's no poop talking going on between the players. But I was told by some very, very significant players in the world, they say there's not one word being said because there's nowhere to hide when you go out there on that mat. It just blows football players' minds thinking about that because, as we say, usually the 19th string safety is the one talking the most crap in the back of the line and causing fights. So everything about it. I mean, the arena, I got to say, how they did St. Patty's made the ceiling was what blew my mind. The LED lights, which was probably like 3 inches from your head, from where you were sitting, by the way. But the LED lights, they put the bagpipes on, and they made the whole place green, and the whole ceiling during the national anthem, they did the American flag, and I'm like, this is just awesome. And I was telling Booch on the way here what the Red Wings and Detroit Pistons, what the pictures they had up, and walking around the suites areas and just looking at all their history, and it was just really cool to see. The people out there were good, were great, and the people working there were absolutely outstanding. But I mean, Penn State was the hunted, the absolute hunted. I mean, there's not many people out there who are not in blue and white who actually cheer for Penn State. I mean, you can be honest with that and say that, right?
Yep.
I mean, no one's there saying, "Oh, I want to see Penn State kick the crap out of everybody again and win this tournament." So I mean, you're in Michigan, so you get two Michigan guys in the finals. It's going to be pretty loud, and it got pretty loud for them, and especially against Brooks in the Penn State match. But in the end, you got to wrestling people know that you got to take your hat off. You got to tip the hat to Kale and the boys and his whole staff. And, man, they just ran it. And the greatest part was how quiet Iowa was.
Yeah,
I didn't hear one Iowa chant, one person talking crap to anybody.
Yeah,
they didn't bring anything.
No, it was a very tough tournament for the Hawkeyes. There's no question. I think obviously injuries caught up with a couple of their kids, but it just was not the tournament obviously that they were looking for. That being said, when you could have what is considered by your fans to be just a horrible tournament, right? Like nobody was satisfied or happy. They finished third in the country.
Yep.
Like there should be a level of gratitude for, hey, when we have a really disappointing year with the third best team in the entire country. But, it comes back to expectations and what you want. And listen, Penn State fans would be disappointed also with a third place finish. So, I mean, I get it as far as it goes. It's just that, again, perspective every now and then is probably a good thing. But, when you are gunning for national titles, when that's your expectation, you finish third, it's disappointing. And it was kind of funny. We were talking about that, just looking at the different reaction from Iowa, which, again, finished third in the country, and Arizona State, which finished fourth in the country. You look at the number of kids smiling and the reaction up on that podium. And listen, it wasn't as though, I think Arizona State thought if this tournament broke just right, that it could win the national title. So, it's not a situation where, they were just glad with fourth, but they were happy to be on the podium and one of the four teams
They impressed me the most from not being from coming from the outside. Them and Virginia Tech, they wrestled really, really well, and they could tell that they're two up-and-comers big time. A lot of Tech guys, man. A lot of Tech people out there.
Yeah.
A lot of fans, too. They traveled really well. There wasn't many Arizona State fans, but their guys wrestled, and they wrestled hard. And
they did.
It was almost like, okay, when are these guys done? They're going to stop scoring here soon, and they kept on scoring. It was like, holy crap.
And I will say just a shout out to the folks that put the tournament together. I do think they have it, and they'll make tweaks every year that they keep doing that. But for the fans that are in attendance, the stuff that they do with basically Family Feud style stuff, where they surveyed 100 student athletes, and they're giving the answers to that. They do little trivia stuff. They have fun facts up on the screen. I'm talking about this ahead of the tournament. The dance cams and but all of that stuff, just making it fun for the fans in attendance. One of the most fun things that they did is, which I thought when they first came up with the idea was just ridiculous, is the gotcha cam. But, so many of us, and me included, I'm up there before the broadcast, and I'm checking the cell phone too, and I'm going through notes and stuff. But so many fans are in attendance, and they're looking at their phones. Well, they have this, what they call the gotcha cam, and so they'll zoom in on a camera on somebody, and until you look up and react and acknowledge that oh my gosh, that's me on the screen. And some of the guys, they'll go, the one guy went just about 3 minutes before, and eventually some, like, other fans are like, Hey, idiot!
One guy in the orange, and then he got up and walked away. And the guy was like, "Dude, you're on TV," and he finally caught on to it.
But that's fun. But that's fun stuff, and I don't know. They just do a great job.
It is a wonderfully family-friendly environment. It really, really is. Kids. Now, the thing that catches me the most, and I don't think you'd see this in any other sport, is, before they have autograph sessions. Give Dan Gable out to the freaking autographs. Imagine that having a Super Bowl and having Deion Sanders just hanging out before the game, giving out free autographs. It ain't happening. It's very fan-friendly. You get to meet a lot of your heroes. I know that Knopf was there walking around in the area once. They had him outside shaking hands, kissing babies and all. So all these ex-athletes, all these 2, 3, 4-time All-American guys, national champions, you get to meet all of them.
Yeah.
No other sport has that.
Yeah.
You're not going to the NCAA tournament and going to New Orleans Final Four. You're not going to visit and go sit down and shake Danny Manning's hand and say, "Hey, you were great in '92." You know what I mean? You're not going to have that, and that's what's so impressive about it. It's very fan friendly. It reminded me of a preseason baseball game where you get a little little handshake time and just some time to talk to some people. I mean, I would love to sit there.
Yeah,
I can sit here and talk crap about Iowa all I want, but I would probably pay a pretty good dollar to sit down with Dan Gable and pick his brain a little bit. I mean, just knowing the stories about the guy, and that would be pretty cool to sit there and talk to that guy.
No,
they
sure.
do a very. My question is: the NCAA running it? Is the USA Olympics? Is the USA wrestling? Is it the USA Hall of Fame wrestling? Who was running that tournament? Who was doing all that stuff?
So the NCAA is running it. The National Wrestling Coaches Association is very involved with a lot of the things that are going on in and around the tournament. But yeah, I do think it's just a very well run tournament, and I did think I will share with you that the last time we went to Detroit, I thought was by far my worst experience at the NCAA tournament. And that's not to say it was an awful experience, but it just was really hard to get to. It was really hard to find anything to eat and then get back to the arena in any kind of
was it at the Joe
suitable time at the Palace.
At the Palace,
yeah. And it was just it was not a great setting. But even though I knew this was a different venue and all of that, it just, I guess when you get that ingrained in your mind, I was dreading, not the tournament itself, obviously, but I was dreading the anticipated experience and what we were going to be dealing with. And I will say, it was just a wonderful overall experience. Detroit's a little rough, even in the good parts. It's still a little rough. But I will say they are clearly making a significant effort in and around those ballparks. The football field and the baseball stadium, which my hotel was right next to those. And, and we were, whatever, a 7-8. I walked up to the arena before each session. And I do think that when you look at the way that area is building up, and again, the number of restaurants just at the arena for crying out loud, but in and around, those within a 7-8 block radius, there was plenty of stuff for fans to be able to do and enjoy in between sessions. And I will not be surprised, nor will I be disappointed if Detroit gets another bid next time around. I've always thought St. Louis did a great job, and I still think that, and that's a great venue and all of that. But I thought Detroit just did a great job, and Little Caesars Arena was.
Did you get into the suites at all?
No,
dude. I don't know how to explain it. Usually, we were in Cleveland a couple years ago, and it was really, really compact. It was like the usual 12 chairs, and they had like 4 bar stools. You can put your belly up there, and then behind there, you usually have like a couch and 2 chairs. They had all of that. They had 6 televisions in the room in each of these suites, but they didn't have a bathroom. And I think that's how they made it that much bigger, because they had a bathroom outside of every suites. So, 2 or 3 suites would share a bathroom, which is fantastic because it opened up the suite that much more. And there was so much room in there. And like I said, you had 6 televisions. You could watch whatever you want. So we had the wrestling. We couldn't figure it out to get the. If we wanted to watch match 3 on Mat 3, we could not figure out how to do that because we just had the ESPN feed. But you're watching hoops games too. And it's really, really cool. And it was an unbelievable experience that way. Everything high tech, very, very classy, good people, and they were happy to have us there.
Well, that is another thing. I will say that the work staff at the arena staff, that is the friendliest group of people I have ever met in my life. And I've had other very good experiences at other arenas, but nowhere were they as every person that at least I ran into, hey, so glad you're here. Welcome to the Detroit. Welcome to the arena. Anything we can do, if you're having any problems, please let me know. One of the security guys, there were 3 of them that we got to know kind of well, and just would exchange different stories, and that they want to know, who you were covering and who you were with, and all of that. And but the one guy that all day Saturday is like, man, just make sure you get a safe trip home, man. I just want you guys to get home safe. And but it was they just were over the top friendly and courteous, and it was just again, it made for a great experience. I think from everybody I talked to, at least, and from my experience, it was you couldn't have asked for a better.
I say it was genuine because I've gone to Notre Dame Stadium. I've talked about this in the past and how disingenuous they were about, welcome to Notre Dame Stadium. Welcome to Notre Dame Stadium. These people were actually being really nice about it. Like, they were proud, and they truly were welcoming you.
Yeah. I will say I'm kicking myself for not filling out a basketball bracket because I have not missed a game yet through this point in the tournament.
I know you couldn't listen to the show.
I thought everybody I'm surprised more people, because I saw this coming exactly as it's laid out.
So me and Booch have 2 Final Four teams left between the 2 total. I don't think Tennessee, Iowa, and Kentucky or Baylor are doing pretty well for us. So.
I tell you talk about a rough sports weekend, and I'm really not gloating here, but to be an Iowa sports fan this past weekend, brutal. The men's and the women's basketball teams both made unexpected earlier exits than they were looking for. The wrestling team, which thought it was going to repeat as national champion, finished 3rd, and again, perspective, but that Iowa fan base right now, pretty disappointing group. I suspect as disappointed as any sports fan base in intercollegiate athletics this past week.
Case in point, I think that Michigan fans were just happy where they were, to be honest with you. Winning the Big Ten, having a couple guys compete for the title. I don't think they had I think they thought they could win it, but they really couldn't. So you got to give me some credit here, and I got to say this. I'll let you. The guys I was with on Friday night. That's when That's the big wrestling, in my opinion, when the semifinals come in there.
For sure.
And everybody's like, what do you think? And I said, dude, I was in Cleveland. That was my first wrestling match. And I said, we were in Ohio State territory, Cleveland, Ohio.
Yep.
And how many guys did they have lose on that Friday night?
Yeah.
And I said, your butthole puckers a little bit. And in that environment, they're screaming for you, yelling for you. I'm not going to say you choke, but, you wrestle a little bit tighter. And I said, the same things that happened in Michigan. It just seemed like it was just had that feeling. And I don't know what it is, but his guys are always just so relaxed, chill. Doesn't matter how much time's on the clock. They're not panicking. They're wrestling, and they get it done.
Yeah. No, we do. And I think, you go all the way back. It really started with that first title under Cale, because where Penn State won it over Cornell in 2011, and Philly was with the semifinals Friday night, and Cornell lost a couple of bouts that they thought they were going to win. You had Quentin Wright making his great run, and that really is where Penn State then made its move and sealed the deal, and that's just been consistently what Penn State has done here under Cale Sanderson.
Why do you come to Penn State? To win national titles.
Yeah, and I will say one of the really cool things for me, at least, at the national tournament this year was seeing the number of former Penn State wrestlers, and a lot of them are still in the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, so I mean they're very much in touch with the athletes who are here now. But the number of them were there was impressive. But the number of parents of former wrestlers that were there, and that's when you know that you are really getting a true buy-in here right to your program, is when the parents are still coming back to watch and support your program after their kids have graduated and are moving on. And again, a lot of them, I get it, have moved on to do things in state college, either with the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club or like Bo Nickel now with his facility down in Pleasant Gap. But I mean, to see those parents and the kids coming back and supporting these guys and getting genuinely excited when Penn State does well, I think I do think there's something to the culture that has been created. I know, but it is.
Nicky Trippity might show up.
Special. A couple of other things, just the NFL merry-go-round here with quarterbacks is fascinating to watch. The Steelers, in my
you have been
my mind
back since.
Oh yeah, no, they have dropped
big time.
Oh yeah,
big
they
time.
have dropped way off the charts here. And listen, I was texting back and forth with a couple of buddies because they're like they were happy with Mitch, and I'm like, well, I'm okay with it as long as the Steelers are understanding, and I think they do. I mean, I'm not expecting them to come out and say this, but I think the Steelers are, with Mitch Trubisky being who they went after and got. The way I'm interpreting that is the Steelers are saying, listen, we're going to take a couple of years, rebuild, and figure this out. Like, this is not a team that is expecting now to contend for a Super Bowl next year. I think if you'd gone out and made a play, and a serious run at any of the, Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson, then I think you're saying internally, hey, we really think we could do this next year. And they may have just looked at it and said, listen, with what we have right now and where we're at, it doesn't matter if we bring in an Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson. Now, I'm looking at it as a fan, and I'm like, man, I think you are closer than what many are thinking, and I think if you get the right quarterback, you could be a real contender. But I can understand the front office looking at it and saying, listen, with the Chiefs where they're at right now with Mahomes, and the Bills where they're at right now with Allen, and now you have the Bengals in our division, and they're not going anywhere. And how about you talk about an organization that is going all in next year, I think similar to what the Rams did. Bengals have made 3 moves already to shore up that offensive line. Now, whether or not those moves pay off, again, I get it. We got to wait and see. But they clearly believe that, and on one hand, no duh, they were in the Super Bowl, knucklehead. Of course, they think they're contenders. But I think they are looking at it and saying, listen, that is all we need. We make a few upgrades here, get a little better offensive line, give Joe Burrow a little better protection, and we are the team to beat. And again, there's so many different things, so many different dynamics that play into it, like we were talking about with wrestling. They can make all the right moves and do all the right things and still end up, losing to the Bills next year because the Bills are just that great of a team, right? Like that's
they made a hell of a move getting
that, that's possible. Yeah, and that's the thing. So to me, I think the Steelers are kind of conceding, not publicly, they're not going to state it, but listen, that you look at their quarterback, their quarterback team and that roster right now, and you look at the Bengals. in the division, and even the Ravens. I mean, and then you look at even now the Browns. I mean, we'll see how that all plays out. And I get there's certainly a risk factor there. I certainly realize that. But from a talent standpoint, again, in the division, you have Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Deshaun Watson, 3 elite quarterbacks, and you have the Steelers sitting there with Mitch Trubisky. And listen, I don't think Trubisky's the worst thing in the world, but I mean, you're not seriously going to say you're expecting to compete.
I don't think
Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, and Joe Burrow. With Mitch Trubisky.
Baker's coming against Pittsburgh.
You know what? I think it would be better. I really do. I mean, I wouldn't be thrilled with it, and at this point, that's not happening. But I think that's a better option than what they have.
I'd like to see 2 things that happen this week. I want to see Trubisky with an offensive line that can actually block. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not sure the Steelers are going to provide. I'm not sure the Steelers are going to be able to provide that.
And I want to see Matt Ryan with a pretty good offensive line in Indianapolis, because that guy's been absolutely getting tortured and murdered for the last 5-10 years. It'd be interesting to see. By the way, is that now the place where quarterbacks just go to retire? Like, I'm going to go to Indianapolis. Rivers.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan. It just seems like that's what they're doing. But it will be interesting to see Trubisky. Again, hopefully they give him a team, but they got rid of Washington and Juju now, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, they're blowing it up on offense. I mean, they need to blow up the defense a little bit too. Get some.
Well, now, yeah. I mean, and again, I'm okay with that. That's what I was telling you. They're like. And I'm okay with saying, listen, let's regroup and figure this out. Again, I would have liked to see them try to make a run, but it may not have been realistic. Again, with what everybody else has coming back, and I don't think going all in with a whole lot of money on a quarterback if you don't truly believe. Again, internally, and that's again my interpretation of what's happened is that the Steelers internally are saying, listen, we're getting a little long in the tooth. We obviously do have some very good veterans, but we just don't have a roster that is going to be able to compete at the highest level here. And listen, I think Mike Tomlin and with the talent that they'll have, I'm not saying they're going to drop off the face of the earth, but they are not winning the division. Again, that has Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and Deshaun Watson in it with Mitch Trubisky, right? Like, I mean, that's not happening. And I'm as black and gold and optimistic as anybody, but you can look at facts and realize what the situation is. And again, I'm okay with it if hey, we're going to take a couple of years to figure this out. And in the NFL, that rebuilding process again, it's not like baseball where the Pirates, it's a 40-year project to rebuild an organization. I mean, we're talking about a couple of years if you get the right quarterback, and that's obviously going to be the mission.
How long was
over the next couple of years?
How long has Ben? 14, 16, 17?
Yeah.
So how many times have the Bengals been blown up? How many times have the Browns been blown up? And how many times have the Ravens been blown up in those times?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just 1 out of 20 years. It's not a bad situation right now. Now, will you go the Mark Malone from Terry Bradshaw, like looking for the next star quarterback at Pittsburgh? Will that be an issue waiting 20-some years for Ben Roethlisberger to show up?
And listen, getting that quarterback is hard, and it's
not there this year.
No, I mean, well, you don't think so, but I mean, nobody thought Tom Brady was Tom Brady when they drafted him.
Totally did.
Well, yeah, you called that, and I had the NCAA tournament brackets exactly as they are. So, but very few, I should say, called that at the time. So, I mean, I don't think Kenny Pickett is the next great one, but who knows? We'll see how it all plays out. I do think if you're the Steelers, you've got to these next couple of years. I mean, you've got to be willing to trade up if you think. And I'm with you. I mean, I don't think you do it this year, but And I'm okay again with getting a quarterback. I still hope they get a quarterback this year, and I'd be okay even with the first round pick. And see, okay, we have a couple of years now to see if this guy is going to be able to be the next franchise quarterback for us, with Trubisky kind of being the mentor, or But I think you can take a flyer on a guy or two here over the next couple of years, trying to get to that point. I would be okay with that.
Historically, they build their team around their quarterback, whereas like Andy Reid and a lot of the NFL guys build with their beef. They'll take care of their O&D line, and then they'll get their guy.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how the Steelers, because I don't remember what they were doing before Ben. And that's been that long. I mean, hell, a lot of peyote.
Yeah.
I don't really remember who the hell was before with it.
It was not a great run of quarterbacks. Yeah, you had Cordell, you had O'Donnell, you had
Tommy Maddox.
Yeah.
Kent Graham from Giants era.
Don't even.
Kent Graham played for the Steelers? Oh my God! I never saw Ironhead speechless.
Kent Graham. Every time I hear the name, so the last time when the series first ended with the Penn State Pitt series, that weekend, the Penn State played at Pitt, got shut out.
Lost like 9.
The next day, I think it was 12. I think. Yeah. The next day, the Steelers played at the Browns, and I have a buddy, best friend from college, who's a huge Browns fan. So he and I, like, all right, we're going to the Penn State Pitt game, then we're going to the Browns-Steelers game. And he has no expectation. We both had expectations on Penn State. It's like, well, that's stunk. We went out and had a good time anyway in Cleveland on Saturday night. We go to the Steelers-Browns game that Sunday. The Steelers are down by 2. The Steelers get down to like the 6-yard line of the Browns. There's 15 seconds or so left. Kent Graham goes back and takes a freaking sack. The Steelers try to get the field goal team on, and they can't do it in time. They're out of timeouts. I mean, the only thing you can't do is do what Kent Graham did, and they lose to the freaking Browns after the Nittany Lions got shut out by Pitt. Worst sports weekend, worst football weekend for me in person of my life. And that's every time I think of Kent Graham, I just see him getting sacked, and the Steelers sideline trying like crazy to get that field goal unit out on time, and it wasn't close. And then, of course, I'm in my Steelers. The only good thing about that is I'm walking out of the stadium, and my buddy's kind of shielding me because he's all the Browns, and I'm like, oh, this is just get to the car. Let me live and get to the car, and we'll be done with this miserable week.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ken.
Beautiful.
Thanks for the memories.
Very nice. Tulsa next year.
Yeah.
An easy place to get.
No, but I
have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
You were up top. I was in the middle. A lot of empty seats. And I know they were all sold. And I know it was the hardest ticket to get. And I was told it's all corporate that buys them, and they give them away. And
there's a lot.
It's like crazy.
Yeah.
I've never seen that many at the
more. Yeah, I think more so now than used to be in terms of corporate.
A lot of empties. There weren't even. I mean, obviously the night times were full, but nighttime wasn't. It was, it was unbelievable. It was an amazing event. But that one where I was like, I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
Because I knew how hard it was to get tickets, and I was told already today. The suites for next year are already sold out. The hotels around Tulsa are already sold out. It's like,
I believe.
Holy crap, man! They act pretty good. It's a pretty. Now my question is, Detroit's a pretty easy place to get to, where predominantly a lot of the people are coming from the Midwest as well as the East. It's not easy to get to Tulsa, Oklahoma from the East.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how that goes next year. How big is the arena? Is it at Tulsa?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the size. I would think it's around 20.
Really?
Oh yeah.
University of Tulsa?
And well, no, it's not the university.
Oh,
but yeah, the the NCAA won't hold it in arenas that are, I forget what the number is. I think it's 18.5.
Why would Tulsa, Oklahoma have? They don't have any pro teams, right?
So yeah, we'll see. I like going to new places too, so I'll be curious.
I have another question for you.
Yeah,
and that is in Tulsa, and getting tickets and how they get all the tickets and how they get picked. So they're in Tulsa, and they're in
Oklahoma City the next year. Then they go back to Philly.
It's weird. I guess that Philly and Pittsburgh are in the same state, so I guess that Tulsa and Oklahoma City.
Yeah, the thing that was surprising, I was talking with a couple people out there, and everybody seems to be in the same boat. I was really surprised that in the latest round that Minnesota did not get one of the bids, since Minneapolis obviously lost out on the 2020 NCAA tournament. And what I didn't know and found out was that they did put a bid in, and now I'm even more surprised that they wouldn't have received the bid. I mean, you would think even if they were not one of the top 4 bids, that again, if they're anywhere in the ballpark, right, that they would have been given it. But anyway,
so like us hosting the Big Ten, I mean, are they going to?
Yeah, I think
all the way back.
No, apparently they are. And I'm forgetting. Somebody did tell me, but I think Penn State's back in the mix. It's much earlier than it normally would be. I want to say it's 3 years.
Okay, good.
From the road, but yeah, they did put. Penn State will get it much more quickly than the normal rotation would call for.
Now, who is hosting Tulsa? Would it be the University of?
I'm guessing it's it'd be, I don't know for sure, but I would think it's probably co-hosted by Oklahoma and Oklahoma State.
And then that would be both years then? Oklahoma City?
Yeah, Oklahoma City for sure will be Oklahoma. I'm trying to think. The 1 year it was in Oklahoma City, I think it was Oklahoma and Oklahoma State that hosted it that year. And I don't know what exactly that means in terms of being hosted by. I mean, like the University of Michigan hosted this one in Detroit. I really don't know what that means because it's obviously not the university that's hosting it, and I don't think they're really doing. It's not like their event staff is the one that's planning this thing. So. Take it for what it's worth.
Yeah, so I talked to Alan Weiser, our guy from over at Pagula.
Yeah.
Women's, he's actually going to come in Thursday and talk about the women's Final Four. Awesome. Because that was my question about the Final Four of hockey being here. I mean, is it big enough to have the men's here, do you think? I mean, it was a nice little testing ground maybe for the NCAA to come in here and say, okay, these guys could actually host. Because I was asking my guys, why couldn't State College host that final national in wrestling? Because they try to keep it off of college campuses.
Yeah,
that's what it seems to be.
They don't want it on college campuses. I also don't think the Jordan Center is quite big enough in terms of the attendance.
You said 18.5 was what it said, right?
Yeah, I'll have to look that up. It's in that neighborhood. It's 18 or 18.5. Yeah, but they don't want it on college campus.
All right, because I always wondered, why can't we get a pod here for the basketball? Why couldn't we get a regional here? I don't understand. I mean, there has to be enough hotels. Has to be. We have 110,000 people who come up on football Saturdays in the fall.
Yeah, but a lot of them are staying for the football weekends. It's Altoona and Lewistown. It's those hotels that are. I don't know. I don't know what the
criteria is for getting it.
Requirement, right, for within X amount of, I don't know. I don't even know if it's within mileage or within time distance from the arena. I'm guessing there may be some issues there for those events.
I was saying the women's Final Four was here, so I was like, I wonder if that's some kind of testing ground for our men's sports, and possibly in the future getting something.
Yeah, it would be obviously very, very cool. It was cool to see the women's. I checked out just a little bit of the women's
Did you see the first
final
game?
No, I just saw the championship game. Yeah, I heard he was telling me about it, and Like, well, how are they going to have any legs left? And I don't know if that played into, who knows, but
I'd
they
have been
couldn't
if I
have
played
had
a
fresh
second
legs.
game.
Minnesota Duluth couldn't have had fresh legs anyway.
Think about having the second game and having to wait in your locker room ready to go. You got 40 minutes from that last whistle to your puck drop. You're waiting. Another overtime. Another overtime. Another overtime. Another overtime. Another overtime. That had to suck for them.
Yeah.
But
and spring drills starting
Good
for Penn
week.
State football was a good week. Penn State football and
I can't believe they're in spring football.
I can't either.
Every ex-football player just throws up in their mouth and they think it's spring football. There's nothing worse. The only thing spring football is good for is that your winter workouts are over.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
the only good thing about it. You can actually go out and hit people, and you're actually bigger, faster, and stronger than you were in the fall. So now it's like I've always said before. I always tell you guys, like, the coaches have no worry. They don't care about your legs. They're not getting you ready for anything. They just want to see how good you are.
Yeah.
They're testing your toughness, your how you're going to work under pressure type of thing. So it's an
Your
interesting season, man.
competitiveness, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what they're trying to hone.
Joe would put us
figure out.
in the worst predicaments possible and see how you got through it.
Yeah.
Would you sit there and complain about it, or would you just put your head down and start going to work and get it done? So that's what spring is for.
Yeah. One other, going back to you're saying about Joe, just made me think of two things. One is, among the many remarkable things about this Penn State program, is that Cale, Cody, and Casey have stayed together for this entire run. And obviously, there have been offers, head coaching offers to both Casey Cunningham and Cody Sanderson. But I think it speaks volumes about the relationship they have with each other and the commitment that they have to the kids here in this program. And again, that's not to say that could change it in the future, but I do think that is not an insignificant in any way factor in what Penn State has been able to accomplish here. Those three coaches just work extremely well together. I think they complement each other very well, and they're all just very driven.
They're amazing
in their own way. Yeah, and I said it Saturday night, and I mean it's not surprising, I guess, to somebody in the Penn State perspective would say it, but I truly do believe that is the best coaching staff at any level in any sport in this country. And I realize that's pretty heady stuff, and there's a lot of great coaches out there, a lot of great coaching staffs. But I'm telling you, the ability of these guys to get their guys ready to figure out who's going to fit in the program, first of all, and be able to get many more of those guys to come here and buy into the program than not. And then, again, the development piece and the mental piece, the physical conditioning, the whole bit. I just find me a coaching staff that does a better job with it.
I can't believe it's unbelievable those guys do. But there are people behind the scenes, right?
Oh, for sure.
Like, you've told me stories about how each guy's got people that are like, they're your food guys, or there has to be how many people fly out on? Okay, that's a good question. How many people are on like a chartered trip for a tour or the Natties?
Yeah, it's a little different for nationals. That there are more, and listen, there's more that go out to nationals too, separate from the team trip, that are obviously very instrumental to the overall program. But yeah, I mean, between the coaching staff, the strength coach, the psychologists, the counselors, it's a whole. Yeah, there's a lot of different moving pieces that all have to come together to make it the best experience and give the kids the best opportunity. But the other thing I was going to say is so that's one thing about this coaching staff, and reminds me of Joe Paterno keeping his coaches together for all those years. But the other really cool thing that I'm enjoying, because for years, right, it was, and it's still actually the case. You look out across college wrestling, and there are still Dan Gable disciples and prodigies still all over the wrestling landscape. But, you know, I'm watching Vincenzo Joseph and the job he's doing in Stanford right now. Frank Molinaro at Arizona State. Ryan Pearsall at Penn. The number of guys that are going on. And listen, there are guys that are going to be, once they, you know, David Taylor, wherever he wants. I mean, listen, he may just want to keep going with the club stuff. And that's a wonderful, avenue for success also. But, you know, if David Taylor wants to be a coach at the collegiate level, obviously he would be great. Jason Nolf has said that is something he wants to do once he's done competing. And I can't imagine a kid or a parent out there that wouldn't want to be competing for Jason Nolf or David Taylor. And you go right on down the line. There are a lot of guys on this year's team that have talked about that they want to get into coaching. I do think, I mean, you're already seeing it, but I think in another 10 years, you're going to see that same type of thing where you're going to have 10 to 15 coaches, head coaches of programs around the country that will have wrestled, and others who will have coached under Cale Sanderson. I think you're going to have a lot of the former wrestlers.
They need a nickname, 3 C's or something like that.
So, yeah.
No,
it's incredible stuff. That is going to wrap up our show for today. We will be back on Thursday with yet another edition of the Wine Country Kia Goon and Ironhead Show. Again, thanks to Quaker Steak and Lube for hosting. Always good to be here, and we'll talk to you Thursday. Until then, be good and be safe.
Best 2 out of 3?
It's one fantastic ride. The turbocharged, tech-inspired new Kia Forte.
There's always something happening at Quaker Steak Lube. From live music to exciting new flavors, meet your friends and refuel at your local Quaker Steak Lube today. Can't slow down? Then order online. Pick up and get back on the road. Find us at thelube.com.
You know, we humans have come a long way on our journey. Our first language wasn't exactly, a language. Medium well, thank you. Our first vehicles weren't the fastest.
Can you,
Faster. Hey, boys, punch it! Our first maps weren't that accurate. And you know, fellas, the world is actually, you have a ball. Our first phones weren't smart. Text mom winky face emoji. Our first screens you couldn't touch.
Mom, Dad's feeling the TV.
No one likes a snitch, son. And the first electric vehicles weren't, let's just say, they look nothing like the first ever Ioniq 5. I mean, two-way charging, AR heads-up display, 300-mile range. What can't this thing do? Look, the point is, it's been a long, yeah, good point, really long journey. But worth it. Your journey at its most evolved, the fully electric